From recruiting and consulting firm Riderflex, I'm your host, Steve Urban, and here is your Riderflex podcast episode of the day. It's all right. Those must be the poodle beds behind you.
Those are the poodle beds. I don't know where they are, but those are my coworkers, and they are obviously out to lunch. What is it? 1 o'clock. They ought to be back. Darn it!
I knew about the poodle beds because I saw that on your LinkedIn profile or somewhere. I don't know. Maybe it was on the bio on your website. I can't remember.
It might have been the bio on my website. Could have been any number of places. I'm sort of inextricably tied to them from an identity perspective.
Tara Coomans on the Riderflex podcast today. Tara, are you in Los Angeles or where are you today?
I am in beautiful Los Angeles.
Okay. How's your weather? Let me guess. 72 and like perfect and sunny with like no
We
wind.
haven't gotten to 72 yet. I live sort of on the west side, which stays pretty cool up until about October. So I think we're probably in the low 60s today, and it is sunny, and we are delighted.
Okay, low 60s. Yeah, that's like almost cold for you, right?
Yes.
Where are you from? Where are you from originally?
Gosh, that's a hard question to answer. I was born and raised in Green Bay, Wisconsin. I went to high school and college in Scottsdale, Arizona. I started my business in Honolulu, Hawaii, and then moved to Los Angeles about 6 years ago.
When you said Wisconsin, the accent came out like just a tad, like just a little bit, and then you went back, and then it reverted back.
Yep, totally. I am 100%. When I talk about Wisconsin, it pulls me right back.
Well, we're rolling, we're live, so we'll just keep talking. I was going to do a bunch of intro stuff, but we're rolling, so we'll just keep going for the cameras. Is that all right with you?
Sure, absolutely, wonderful.
How'd you decide Arizona State from growing up in Wisconsin? How'd that happen?
Well, so I moved to Arizona when I was in high school, and
I see.
If you've ever been to in a Midwest winter, it's not hard to want to stay in Arizona. So I became a Sun Devil. I went to Arizona State.
Yeah, I saw that, and majored in communications, right?
Yes.
Were you thinking you wanted to be like a TV personality, or what were you thinking when you were in college?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't actually want to go into broadcasting, but I enjoy what I call the art and science of communication. So there are both aspects to it, and the degree that I have sort of incorporates all of that and puts it into one. And so that led me into going into PR and marketing, which is where I'm at today.
Okay, very good. Before I get started in your professional career, what'd your mom and dad do? Were they like super extroverted communication people? Like, give me some background on your parents.
Yeah, my mom does come from a broadcast family. Her father was a reasonably well-known broadcaster in Grand Rapids, Wisconsin, in the local market, or Grand Rapids, Michigan, in the local market.
Cool.
And my mother did major in broadcasting before she decided to get married and have kids.
Wow.
And my father worked for IBM for the vast majority of his career. So I grew up in sort of a nerdy computer household, and my mom was a mom.
Okay, very good. But there was some interest there so your mom's background kind of sparked you maybe a little bit, huh?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, my uncle was in radio for a short period of time. He has an outstanding radio voice. So yeah, there was actually absolutely a connection. It's just something that has always fascinated me. I think we can all learn to be better communicators. I certainly include myself in that. It's a constant. I think it's a constant practice.
Any siblings? Were you the only child?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, I'm the oldest of two. My sister is 3 years younger than I am, and she is a physical therapist.
She is, okay. She's in California. Yeah. Is she in California or Wisconsin or where Arizona? Where's she at?
She landed in Fort Collins, Colorado, where she and her husband and 2 children live.
Okay, well, I live about 30 minutes south of there, so we're.
Oh, so yeah, that's right. I love Fort Collins. I think Fort Collins is a special place.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Colorado's pretty cool. I mean, hey, Southern California is not bad too, right? But Colorado's pretty
Everybody in
special.
Colorado is going to cringe when I say this, but there will come a day when I will move my California self up to Colorado, whether I'm
That,
invited or not.
that is kind of a big topic here these days
Yeah,
in Colorado. You know, if you're down at the local pub visiting with friends, you know, you'll hear somebody say, "Oh, all those people from California moving
yeah.
here." Yeah, you'll get that.
You know, it's really funny when I used to visit my sister from when we lived in Hawaii, and I would visit my sister in Fort Collins, and she would introduce me to people in the community, and she would say, "My sister's visiting from Hawaii." They would all say, "Oh my gosh, that's so great." Now when I visit and she introduces me as her sister visiting from Los Angeles, I get this stone cold look. You're not house
Yeah.
hunting, are you? It's really, it's
No,
pretty, the
I
contrast is
think that's
significant.
it's pretty weird because yeah, you get that reaction. I think,
Hmm.
but here's the deal, right? All the people that live in Colorado, they don't like the fact that more people are moving here, but
Right.
they do love the fact that their home values keep going up because people are paying
Right.
more for their homes, right? So it's like, well, which one do you want? Do you want your property value to go up, or do you want nobody to move here? It's like you can't really have both.
Listen, I get both sides of that fence for sure. After living in Hawaii for 8 years, I completely understand both sides of
Yeah,
that fence. And
yeah,
what's attractive about Colorado is that it is distinct and different from California, and so you really want to be able to maintain that Colorado identity. And I absolutely get that, and
right.
I understand. And
Yeah,
I
both.
remember living in places where people were moving in and buying homes with cash myself, and it feels very frustrating if you're from the location, because
Yeah,
even if your home values go up, you say, okay, that's great, I can sell a house, and then you go around and you look and everything else has gone up too, and you're like,
right.
oh, you know, can't afford what I thought I was going to be able to afford. So I
Exactly,
get it.
right, right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, yeah, totally. Okay, so let's get started in your career. So sorry, you get out of Arizona State. Walk me through some of your early career before you started your own thing real quick. Go for it.
So my very first job out of college was selling insurance for small business owners,
Okay.
and I was really good at it, but I didn't actually enjoy it. So I took a job for half of what I was making to go work in the event industry and to produce live events, mostly corporate events,
Okay.
incentive events, or a corporate year-end meeting kind of thing. And I really loved that, and I started a business. That eventually led me to starting my very first business with some business partners. Loved doing that. I did a little bit burnout on that. It was a Monday through Sunday job. I mean, it really
Mm,
never stopped.
mm,
I was
mm.
in my 20s, and so I had a lot of energy, but I mean, I was really living to work.
Mm.
And um, so I moved on from that, and I took a job in publishing. And that eventually led me to starting a magazine with some business partners. I did that for a bunch of years. We sort of had different visions of what we wanted the business to be, and so when that ended, I got another job in marketing and PR for a great company in Scottsdale, Arizona. Loved doing that, but then I moved to Honolulu, Hawaii, and started the business that I'm running today. I started my business in 2008. Didn't know a single person in Honolulu, Hawaii, so that's, I mean, looking
Why'd you
back
move
on it
there?
now, I'm like,
Why?
well, we
Yeah. How
moved
did?
there for my husband's work.
What was that?
We moved there for my husband's work.
Okay, okay. I was gonna say, how'd you pick Hawaii? All right, so you moved
Yeah,
there. All right, and you started your own firm there. But were you by yourself? Did you have a co-founder?
by myself. Just,
Okay, okay. And
yeah,
was it always okay? Was it always called Avance? Am I saying it right, by the way?
it's Avaans. And
Avance, Avance.
Avaans.
Let me say Avance. I said it kind of like a kid from Oklahoma that didn't know how to pronounce stuff right.
Yeah, no,
Avance,
it's fine. I like to pick difficult names to pronounce. It creates a topic of conversation. But
Avance. How did you pick the
Avaans has
name?
been a couple of different things. So Avaans
Okay.
means progress or advantage, and
Mhm.
I really wanted to choose a name that represented at least some of our beliefs about how we approach marketing and PR. We always want to be that secret sauce that we bring to our clients, the thing that that everybody wonders, gosh, how are they doing it right? What's happening here? So, but it has been a couple of different iterations over the years. When I lived in Hawaii, it was called Akamai Marketing, pretty well established there locally. When I moved to Los Angeles, the first name I gave it was Poodle Mafia.
Hold on. Let's take a pause right there. Poodle Mafia. Now,
yeah,
that's
elegantly aggressive communications.
That's kind of a cool name, though. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's catchy. Like I could see that sticking. I'm not saying that Avaans is not a cool name, but Poodle Mafia.
No, I loved Poodle Mafia. I really, really loved it. I found that I was working with some pre-IPO type companies and some investment relations firms that were sort of having a hard time taking us seriously, and I didn't think it represented the the breadth and depth of strategy that we were offering. So that actually was the primary trigger to changing the name.
Now, I hear people say that sometimes, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, well, Google, I mean, they're going to VC meetings back there, like, yeah, our name's Google, and the VC guys are like, what? Google? Like, what the hell does that mean?
Yeah, if I had $300 billion of branding and marketing behind me, I think I could pull it off.
All right.
But I think, when we are a small business, and we're a very boutique firm, we have to really think about this. I think this is part of the art and joy of communications, right? I loved Poodle Mafia because it was catchy. I thought that it represented the LA market really, really well.
Agreed.
But as our business grew and as the type of clients that we were working with grew, we needed to sort of grow with our business. And so I think this is going to be the last name change. Honestly, I'm done.
Well, how many people mispronounce the company name right now? I'm just curious. Every time you talk to somebody,
it's Avaans. Avaans, which is it's Flemish for, it's like advanced. It's Flemish for or so if you say it right, Avaans, then it sounds like advanced, and it's fine. But that's I mean, I was looking for a name that no one else had. There's a little, SEO sauce in there, a little,
Yeah.
So it gets harder and harder to find those languages. And I'm
When did
European,
you rebrand? When was that rebranding to Avaans?
I rebranded right around the time COVID hit. I just went deep. I'm a crazy entrepreneur.
Wow. So you're like, okay, I want to change my name, and then boom, COVID. You're like, oh shit. Okay, yeah, that's
no. I changed it in reaction to some of the things that were happening during COVID. Right.
Oh.
I wanted to, again, our clients were changing and adjusting. We did have a COVID dip. I had a little extra time, and I had thought a lot about where I wanted the company to go and what I wanted to do with it. And that was the cause for the rebrand. I still have the old websites up, so we're sort of just funneling all the information into one place now. But that's what we're using these days.
Okay. All right. So I have had a lot of marketing, social media, PR guests on the show. So let's do this. I want you to tell the listeners right now why Avaans is the place they need to go, right? Give it to us, the secret sauce. Go for it.
Yeah. So we're pretty unique from a boutique agency standpoint. We go pretty deep, shoulder to shoulder with our clients. We offer a couple of very specific services. We are media relations, which means getting your name in the press, strategic and messaging and consulting, just sort of an overall brand. How are you representing your brand in digital media? And we also do social media. So we touch on your consumer relations from the standpoint of how you're viewed by your consumer, as well as how you're viewed by the media. And it's always our goal to balance those two, the awareness in both those areas.
What's your biggest piece of the pie, PR or social media, or what's the biggest piece of your business?
Yeah, it's definitely PR. I have a huge social media background. And so, and social media really is a vertical of PR, but we are a messaging and overall branding kind of firm. So sometimes people want to do really nutty things in social media, like an influencer engagement program. And what we do in those kinds of circumstances is we work with another expert, but we don't do social media influencers. It's I have to draw the line somewhere, and it's just not in our bandwidth. If you're looking for a consistent presence, creative, engaging, some back and forth with your community, we do that very, very well. But we do not do, some of the things that social media has become today, not because we don't like to, but because we have to focus our efforts. And one of the things that we have found for our clients is the bigger and more trackable return is placement in press. And so we want to spend our energies creating those opportunities that the clients are excited to see. Social media feels a lot of times like something that people feel that they need to do, and they should, and they do. In fact, we don't accept clients that don't have a social media presence, but it isn't always the thing that they feel that is going to get them to their next strategic goal. And earned media plays a significant role in growing businesses.
Who's your target client? Is a startup? Is it a small business? Is it I don't know, athletes, entertainers, big business CEOs?
Great question.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're sort of a pre-IPO, immediately post-IPO firm in emerging markets. So we have done a lot in the cannabis space. We've done a lot in the commercial drone industry. We've done a lot in emerging tech. So we're sort of in that sweet spot of you have a minimum viable product. You've had a couple rounds of funding. Probably you fumbled around with your brand a little bit, and now you've sort of worked out some of the kinks, and now you're ready to really show the world what you've got. And that's where we come in. Okay,
so it's a brand person, kind of a brand PR firm, not necessarily an individual so an individual wouldn't call you. Okay, is that right?
Yeah, I mean, we've had some conversations. We have done some individual PR conversations, but in general, it's not our number one vertical.
Okay. Does the marketing officer of an emerging company call you when it's in trouble and they got a bunch of bad reviews and the Glassdoor sucks and they've got, oh man, we got to fix our image? Or do they call you when they got a huge round of funding and they're ready to,
Normally the latter. Normally when they have identified that they have some strategic initiative and of growth, significant growth opportunities or growth desires, normally the latter. We do what we call reputation management, online reputation management for our existing clients, but we rarely start an engagement on that in that way.
Is that because you're looking at them going, damn, bro, you already messed up your brand. I can't save you now.
No, it's really just, here's the thing. I mean, it's like anything. I really want, here's my number one thing that I tell my team members and my clients, which is we are going to get in there shoulder to shoulder with you. You are going to be communicating with us on a regular basis. However, I cannot care more about the brand than you do. So if you haven't already considered some of these other aspects of the way that you are appearing, then it's sort of a red flag for me.
Great point. Great point.
So it's just something that we consider when we're evaluating client fit.
Great point, right? Like I hadn't thought about that. Like, so your reviews are in the shitter and you haven't done anything about it.
Right.
But now you want to hire a PR firm? It's like, what?
Right. I mean, you might argue that a PR firm should help you with that. And that is a discussion I am willing to engage in, right? But if those reviews have been up there 6-7 months,
right,
a year, I'm thinking, so you haven't taken your brand seriously at all up until this point.
Great point.
Right. So it's a concern. And, sometimes there's triggers. We had this one incident happen and it created a bunch of bad reviews and we've never had that before and we really don't know how to deal with it.
Yeah.
Very different circumstance.
That's very different. That's a lot different. Yeah. Totally agree. Okay. Very good. So you talked about your target customer. How big is the agency? How many employees?
We have about 6 team members. We're all distributed. We all work remote. So you can see I'm calling you from my home office. Our entire team works remotely. We're in Denver, DC, Florida, and LA, of course. And I actually have a team member who is a nomad.
I like that too. I like that
He's in
too. Drives
Colorado
around,
right now.
got his RV, got his van with a little antenna on top. I like it.
Yeah. She
Hey,
and her cat just, I mean, they live all over the country.
I love that. Hey, as long as you can connect, I'm all for that.
Me too.
Okay. So, and what were your revenues and profits last year? Just joking. You don't have to share that.
Favorite year ever, but I'm proud that we're still standing. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. COVID was what? Hey, yeah. How did COVID affect you? I mean, did it, so it was a hit for you? Talk to us a little bit about the effects of COVID.
Yeah. So, it's interesting because this is my third financial crisis as an entrepreneur, right?
Because you were, so 08, so you had the 08, 09, you had COVID. What else? What am I missing?
9/11. I bought
9/11.
my
Okay,
second
gotcha.
business the day before 9/11 crashed.
Okay.
So
You've
just outstanding timing.
Been through this a couple of times.
Been through this a couple of times. I know that everyone knows they're not supposed to pull back on PR and marketing when there's a financial crisis, and I know that everybody does. And I also know that it happens about every 10 years. Right. So there's always, so I'm not wildly surprised. We do not spend every dollar that we make. And so we were able to push through. There were some, I mean, it was just like dominoes falling. We're going to go on pause. We're going to go on pause. We're going to go on pause.
Yep.
And then the even weirder thing that's happened is that as the economy has started to pick back up and things have looked a lot more promising, what's holding us up right now is supply chain. We have a number of clients who cannot get product to market and can't do what they need to do until they do. There's 3 or 4 of those happening right now.
Totally agree. When some of those clients were calling to put you on hold during COVID, were you like, yeah, but you have like a 12-month contract and it's monthly installments, so I need you to, what'd you do?
Well, our answer is always, first of all, do you really want to do this? Because everyone is pulling off and you are actually going to get more ROI for anything that you do right now. And so that's number one. Number two is this a knee-jerk reaction, or is this because you're worried about your own revenues? And so we have a deep discussion about that. We were really flexible with a number of our clients, and a number of our clients did right by us, and some of them didn't. And but that's the risk that we have to take sometimes. I think that's sort of the, that personal relationship that you get when you work in a boutique arrangement is sort of an advantage. We do have a contract. It is lock solid. I can be as firm and as aggressive as we need to be. But that isn't always great for my brand either. And so I like to think about it from a little bit bigger picture of, what's the relationship worth, where are we headed? And then how can we be part of the solution?
Yeah. Did you have to lay anybody off or no?
No, we cut some hours.
We
cut some hours. We cut back some hours, but we didn't have to lay anybody off.
Good. Congratulations. Hey, you've made it through another crisis. And let me guess,
I mean,
things are busy right now, I'm guessing.
Things are very busy right now. I'm very grateful. But as I said, what is keeping us from being even busier is the larger economy, which is amazing to me.
Did you bootstrap all of these businesses from the beginning, and have you ever taken on cash from the outside? Two-part question.
Yeah, I have bootstrapped everything. Every single business that I have ever done. Actually, one except the second business, we did have some outside funding. I had business partners during that business. I would do outside funding a little differently today if I had if that was a goal of ours.
What's your plan? Are you thinking, hey, this is a nice little lifestyle business for me here. I got a nice little team, and I'm good to go right here.
Or is it question? Okay, so there's 2 plans. One is the first. We have a great business. We have great clients. We have a great team. We do great work. That in and of itself is extremely satisfying to me.
Yep.
and it's eminently scalable. I mean, we can grow
as much as you want to.
Yeah, as much as we want to. So there are, of course, I think like a lot of people, if somebody said, what would happen if I gave you $100 million, what would you do with it? Yeah, there's a plan. There's a plan not just for the agency. I have I'm probably like a lot of entrepreneurs. I have a whole host of business ideas that I think are all really pretty exciting, that I think would radically change my industry, actually. But I, frankly, because it is a bootstrap business, don't have time to pursue those ideas independent of what we do. That's the God's honest truth.
I just want the listeners to know that if you do want to contribute $100 million, I have a bunch of great ideas for that too here at Riderflex.
Yeah, exactly. I won't say no, and I have a whole plan for you. However,
yeah, I got a plan.
I think raising money for ideas and is a really exciting process, but I think it requires 110% of your effort and your engagement. And going after those ideas, I often have to weigh going after those ideas versus what it is I do right now and the commitments I've made.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. So being in the service business myself here at Riderflex as a recruiting firm, I get the same question, from time to time. We'll meet with people and they'll be like, so Steve, what's your plan? Are you going to like sell? Are you going to be like, go raise, blah, 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 And I always kind of look at them and go, listen, man, I did like 5 interviews today. We signed 2 new contracts. I'm here with you at a business development meeting, trying to close another contract. And then it's 8:00 and then I'm going to go home and go to sleep and get up the next morning and do it again. So no, I don't really have.
Yeah. I mean, I would love to, first of all, I don't know that I'm ever going to actually retire in the traditional sense.
Yeah.
But I would love to turn it over eventually to someone else.
Okay.
In the future, create an equity program for them to eventually move into running the business. That would make me really, really happy. I think that we are, but we're ways from that, honestly.
I think that's a good pause right there for the listeners. The entrepreneurial folks listening to this show. Very few companies are going to actually like raise $100 million and then sell it and retire as billionaires. 90, I don't even know what the percentage is, but 90% of the small service-owned businesses are going to be great little lifestyle businesses that have 15, 20 employees, and they create a nice little life for the founders. And then if the founder can kind of trail off a little bit and let somebody else run it and keep the business going and kick off $200,000-300,000 of distributions to the founder every year while they're semi-retired. Hey, cool. That's great. I mean, there you go. You're successful, right?
Yeah. I mean, I think that's every entrepreneur's goal eventually is to work on the business, not in the business, right?
Yes.
And so, I mean, I think that's, to me, it's a reasonable goal to do something like that. And I think it's a worthy goal.
Absolutely.
And I don't think to your point, I don't think I have to do $100 billion a year in revenue to be proud of what I've built. I'm a builder. I'm proud of that. I create jobs. I add to the economy. I treat my clients excellent. I treat my vendors excellent. No one has ever heard I didn't get paid from me.
Right.
So I'm proud of that. And
very good.
In small ways, I think that contributes as much to the economy and to business operations as does a Google, for example.
What's the scariest part about being an entrepreneur for you?
Yikes. I'm not really scared of it anymore. I used to be afraid of revenue highs and lows and not knowing how to project all of those things. I've built the business to sort of manage that a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm always cognizant. I guess my worst fear is having a series of clients that have bad experiences with us. That would be, I feel that would probably really disappoint me. But I'm not worried about revenue anymore. I can always grow revenue, but I'm not worried about will we grow? I'm not worried about can we grow? I think my worry is just keeping the relationship and the experience and the quality of work up as we grow. That's probably my bigger fear.
And that is key for a service-oriented business, where once you get to a certain point, once you get big enough, the founder finds it hard to touch every single client and manage every single thing. So you have to put the reputation of your brand into other people's hands, which is a little bit scary sometimes, right?
It is. It's terrifying. Because our build has been slow, right? I started in 2008. I spent a lot of time thinking about what it is that we do and how we do it and the way that we do it. And so it's sort of second nature to me as we grow to make sure that everybody's in the loop on that. But I do think that it does get harder the more you grow. And yes, if when the owner is no longer in touch with every single piece of it, how do you ensure that legacy continues? Especially with a distributed team, it's a unique challenge. I really believe very strongly, always have, that a distributed team is more productive, is more effective, less stressed and more creative. But it does have its challenges.
Yeah.
Right? And building culture is one of those challenges.
My wife she'll ask me, she'll say, well, what are you stressed out about? And I'll say, well, the bigger we get, the more recruiters we have, the more people we hire, the more I'm putting the reputation into other people's hands. So if that's what I lose sleep over, is because I can't do it all myself anymore. And so I just tell the recruiters, like, hey, I was like, look, if you mess up the brand, I will kill you. No, I'm playing.
It's super easy, guys. Don't worry about it. If you mess up, you're dead. So don't worry. It's fine. Yeah. No, I totally get that. I mean, I think that's, it's a very real thing when you dedicate your life to building something. Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. That is exactly right. And the same thing applies to, I don't know, the local plumber or the local, electrician, or anybody that has a service business like that, right? Like, same thing. They start getting busy enough and they hand their reputation over to other people. It's very critical. So, okay.
Absolutely.
So for folks, well, first, before I kind of talk about your website and how people can reach you, I wanted to ask you about something else real fast as it relates to PR. Interesting topic here. We got a little bit of time left. What is your advice to CEOs, especially as it relates to PR, with this trend of speaking out on social media about sensitive topics and like taking sides on things, whatever it is, right? Like whatever the hot topic is of the day, you name it. I don't get politics, COVID, whatever the buzz thing is for the week.
Yeah.
And I see CEOs and sometimes the brands are like, okay, we're going to take a stance on this. And, this week everybody likes blue and we're going to come out and say we like green. And I'm like, okay, well, everybody feels like they got to take sides on whatever the issue is. What's your advice to, what's your PR advice to these CEOs for this stuff?
It totally depends on your brand. So my first question is always why? Okay. Yep. Is this something that's important to you as an individual? Is it something that's important to the brand?
Right. Because it could be, that could be two separate things, right? Two different things.
Right. That's right. Exactly. And if it's the CEO who says, well, I just can't stand it, I can't stand by, then we say, okay, so how closely tied is the CEO's brand to the company's brand? Right. And then we make a decision and we make some recommendations based on that. Now, I do think another thing, which is businesses are increasingly going to be inextricably tied to culture. However, larger brands have more bandwidth to manage backlash.
Right.
So if you're Nike and you want to make a statement, you have a team of 200 PR and marketing people in-house, plus your agencies. Okay. So you have the bandwidth to, and you have probably actually already anticipated the bandwidth.
Right. Yep.
Right. And you're ready for it. It's all a plan. and because you have 300 people in marketing and PR, you can create a plan in 24 hours. If you're a smaller brand and you can't take the risk, you need to think real carefully about why you're doing it and what the implications are and how you will set yourself up for success. Also remembering that you may not get blowback today, you might get blowback in 5 years.
Ooh,
so when the winds of the tides change on opinions and things like that, and even things that seem exceptionally crystal clear to us, what we say today may be misunderstood or misinterpreted, even if we're on the right side of history, may be misunderstood or misinterpreted 5 years down the road. So got to really be thinking about why it is that we're doing this and how it is that we're going to do this. I'm not going to tell anybody no. I'm just going to say, here are the potential considerations that you should take as a brand. And those considerations are going to be unique to the business, to the consumers, right? I mean, and people are sensitive to it on different levels. So you just really have to look at who your audience is. Are you public? Are you private? Are you, how big is your brand? How ready are you for flashback? I mean, all those things, and make a decision. I wrote a blog post a couple of years ago, stand by your brand. I think Taco Bell had done a tweet that was tongue-in-cheek, a little off color, but completely on brand for their social presence at the time.
Okay.
And my take on it was that this tweet at the time got them a ton of press and a ton of coverage. Didn't hurt anybody's feelings. Didn't create any brand valuation problems.
Okay.
And had they gone the safe route, no one even would have paid attention. So, I mean, you have to consider sometimes when the risk is good to take. Burger King just made a huge splash a couple of weeks ago with Burger King.
Oh,
they did a tweet during Women's Month, right? And the tweet said, "Women belong in the kitchen."
I didn't know that. I didn't hear about it. I guess I didn't see that in the news. I missed that. Wow.
So this is a bold statement.
What was there? What was the
next tweet?
Yeah.
The next tweet is, we're contributing X number of dollars and supporting this organization that trains women chefs and makes sure that women have equal opportunities in kitchens around the globe.
Interesting. Wow. Interesting.
So they got a ton of heat for that.
Wow.
And their CEO actually apologized.
Wow. Okay. And it is a fascinating topic. I growing up, I'll be 54 this summer. So growing up, I don't remember, maybe it was always this way. I don't know, but I don't remember. Of course, social media wasn't, like it is today, but I just don't remember. I don't remember brands and CEOs taking sides on sensitive topics all the time. It seems.
Well, they didn't have as many channels.
I guess, right? Yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah.
When we were kids, there was 3 television channels and PBS.
Right.
There was the local radio station, right? Now there's that number of outlets, from bloggers to podcasters to social media to the traditional media. I mean, there's a platform for you to stand on. Look at what we're doing today, right? All of these things provide an opportunity for people to raise their profile, to be leaders in the world or in their industry, but they also provide an opportunity for us to slip and slide. So the accessibility, right? CEOs didn't ever go directly to the press. That would never happen. But a CEO today pulls out his phone and starts tweeting, and the entire PR team is having a stroke, but he's doing it anyway. Who's gonna, this happens. So
all the time.
Yeah, the accessibility of it all makes it very different today, and fast moving.
You know what I think when I see a CEO do something like that, make a comment on something, I always think to myself, listen, man, I just want to call a guy up and go, or girl, woman, whatever. I just want to call him and go, listen, do me a favor. Just make your product, make it good quality, make it at a good price, and get it to my house when you're supposed to. That's it. I don't give a shit what you think about anything. Just sell me a good product on time and deliver it.
Yeah, I also think it's interesting because you and I aren't too terribly far apart in age, but I also think it's a little generational.
It is.
Younger people
Yeah,
are
it is.
expecting leadership on social impact, cultural and environmental issues from businesses, and if they
Right.
aren't hearing that, then they are less inclined. So
Isn't
again,
that
it's
interesting?
really about noticing your audience.
I find that fascinating, and I hear
Mm-hmm.
that all the time. I hear that all the time, and I have two millennial sons, and
Oh, there
so
you go.
so I'm always talking to them about that, right? I'm always
Yeah.
like, so like when you buy a pair of shoes, do you like give a crap about what their quote cause is, or like do you just want it to be at a good price and good quality? Because in my old man vision, I'm like, I just want good price, good quality, delivered on time. I don't care about anything else. and, and
Right.
I'm always picking their brain. I'm like, so tell me, what is it like is that like important to you? So okay, they got a really
Yeah,
cool
but it is
cause.
for them because
Yeah,
it's part of their identity.
it is,
And
right?
so,
It is.
right?
Yeah,
It's sort
I
of
think
like, do
so.
you remember when we were kids and for the first time we were wearing t-shirts with brands on them, or, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay. And remember how people were just amazed that we would give these companies free promotions all the time just by walking around with their logo on our chests or on our backs?
Right? Yeah.
Okay. It's not weird that the millennial generation has taken it the next step, which is if I'm going to put this on my body and I'm going to represent, then I want to know what I'm representing. I actually think there's an authenticity there that our generation completely missed. We were just like,
Agreed.
it's cool, we
Agreed.
like it.
Yep. Agreed. Yeah. Can't argue with that. I definitely can't argue with that. That's a good point. It's a good point.
Yeah, it's
Um,
interesting.
I do love millennials for that. I do love the fact that, and I hate to I don't want to pick on millennials, right? But I love the fact that younger people in general, I feel like they do want to have some other connection of some kind,
Yes,
right?
yes,
But I also love the fact that they they do better at balancing their lives, right? Like work-life balance and wanting to be about something besides working 80 hours a week. And
yeah.
when I grew up, in the 80s, it was like, okay, how many hours can you work? I can outwork you. You can outwork me. And that was all that mattered. Like there was no work-life balance.
Well, so this is another thing. So we grew up in a time where we were just sort of edging up against that idea that if you put in really a lot of work and you really gave it your all, that the company would take care of you. Now we're entrepreneurs, but part of what pivoted me on my entrepreneurial journey was watching my dad take the buyout from IBM, because IBM was completely pivoting and trying to get away from get people who like my dad, who'd worked there 30 years, didn't have any value anymore.
Yeah.
And so when looking at that, I said, oh, wow, I was a teenager, and so you can give your whole life and make someone else a billionaire. And then at the end of the day, they're going to go, hey,
yep. Thanks. Thanks. See ya.
So millennials have said, whether they work for someone else or whether they work for themselves, millennials have said, it's cool. I understand the difference between those two opportunities. But you don't get all me. And they also have had to draw lines because they're accessible in a way that, used to be, I would leave work. There was no way for my boss to get a hold of me. I mean, but now,
right.
That 24/7 communication. So they have had to create boundaries for themselves, culturally, financially, and socially, that are a direct reflection to what happened in the previous 30 years before they entered the workforce. So I get it.
Yeah. That's a great point. You're right. You do have to be able to create boundaries, because if not, the smartphone will just make you work all the time. That's a really good point.
When are you ever going to turn it off?
Oh man, I feel sorry for folks that don't remember a world without that, because me and you, we were like, hey, when we left the office, or we were going from one location to another, like that was it. You weren't going to talk to me until I get to San Antonio. See ya.
This is why I don't want to have cell phone coverage on the planes, right?
Yeah.
I love being disconnected, even if the flight's only an hour and a half or 2 hours. Actual disconnection time.
Okay, so the way I totally agree, and the way I relate to that, because I live in Colorado, when I get my Jeep and I go up in the mountains to go camping, I will purposely get over in a camping area, like in a forest road or something, and I will look at my phone And if I still have service, I'll just keep going until I find a place
Yeah.
where I don't have service.
No, we have to have that. We have to have that space.
Totally
And
agree.
yep, we have to have that space. Millennials are creating it for themselves. We have to figure it out because, you know, this has all happened to us, not, you know, with us. And but yeah, I mean,
totally agree.
you've got to unplug.
I think to wrap up what we were talking about there, though, I do think it's fascinating with company and CEO social media comments, and I think it's going to tie heavily back into your PR business because you're going to be able to help people either when they mess it up or when they're trying to decide what to communicate. I think there's a lot of opportunity area for you there because
we're never done.
I have friends that own businesses and I see some of the shit they put online and I'm like, I'll call them up and be like, what are you doing, man? Like you're going to piss
this goes
off
back to, I can't care more about your brand than you do though. You know, I mean, I see people do and say things. And I think, well, you're entitled to do that. I mean, I'm not going to say that you can't, but what I am going to say is if you haven't thought through, I mean, I weigh in on some controversial topics on occasion, but I think very clearly about what happens if a potential client sees this? What happens if, what's the message I'm trying to send by making this statement? And if I'm okay with it, since I own my own business, since I don't have any business partners, then I can manage that. But I always think about what happens if someone stumbles on this 5 years from now. Where am I going to be? Where am I going to be? So I do a little checklist in my own head before I say anything.
I do too. I do too. I'll even go as far, and my wife's going to be mad because I said this. Sometimes my wife will put something online and I'll go upstairs and I'll be like, what are you doing? Take that off of your Facebook right now.
You have to think about it.
By the way, for the listeners, not that I can control what my wife puts on Facebook because she can do whatever she wants, but I will ask her politely to maybe take something down.
It's hard. I think it's hard look, I have 13 nieces and nephews. So, and the youngest is 13 and the oldest is 32. So there's a wide swath of opinions there. And on occasion, I'm surprised by some of their viewpoints. And so it's hard. It's hard that we all know that we're all interconnected, or it's an oddball world that we live in, but we can only take responsibility for ourselves.
Yes. Great conversation, Tara. I want to ask you two final questions here real quick as we close up. By the way, for the listeners, let me just, before I do that, I just want to make sure. Avaans. See how I said that? Wow. I sound very,
you did it so well.
Smart. I sound really smart.
Yeah.
Okay. So for everybody that wants to look up Tara Coomans and her company, it is, so it's avaansmedia.com.
Yeah.
avaansmedia.com. Or you can find Tara on LinkedIn as well and send her a bunch of like spam LinkedIn messages because I know she loves those.
Yeah, please. My absolute favorite these days. Yes. Absolutely. Ask me, introduce yourself, and ask me if I want to buy what you're selling.
You know what? Can we just send a note to LinkedIn right now? Please, LinkedIn, please control the messages.
Yeah.
It's all, I get 20 messages on LinkedIn a day, and 19 of them are BS sales pitch messages that I hate. Anyway.
Me too. I don't engage with almost anyone. If someone engages with me on LinkedIn and they say, hey, I'm interested in what you do, or I would like to connect with you because I'm curious, I'm fine with that.
Right.
How about maybe engage with me just a little bit before you try and sell me? I mean, I don't know.
Please.
Please. Yeah.
It's like, hey, we got to date. We got to date a little bit. You can't just ask me to like go back to the apartment like right away.
Yeah. Can you hold my hand first? Yeah.
Two final questions. If you could call Tara coming out of Arizona State when she was, I'm going to guess you were 21 or something around there. When you were coming out of Arizona State, if you could call her right now and tell her anything based on what you know, what would that be?
I would tell her that she's capable of a lot more than she thinks she is.
Be more confident, be a little more bold.
Yeah, just have a little more confidence in your own abilities, right? I really at that age had no idea what was possible. I was pretty gutsy and bold, but I didn't actually have the self-confidence to back it up. It was more, I thought it was, if I was flashy, it didn't matter. I could sort of BS my way through it. Well, it turns out I can actually do it. So I would tell myself, you don't have to be so bold and so, be a risk taker, have some fun with your career, but by all means, but have a little confidence in what you can do for yourself.
I like that. And then how about this? If you could put your core purpose into a sentence right now at this stage in life, what would that sound like for you?
My personal core purpose is always going to be to elevate the people that are in my life. If that's a client, if that's a family member, if it's a friend. And by elevate, I mean help them find their own power and their own strength.
Mm. Okay, very good. Everybody does need a little help and a little boost, don't they?
We all do.
We all do.
Yeah.
Right? We all
Yeah.
do. We all do.
Absolutely.
Tara, great conversation. I really appreciate you being on the Riderflex podcast.
I enjoyed it. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It was really nice getting to know you, and I hope we get to do it again someday.
If you think today's tip or guest interview can help someone you know, please share this with them. If you've enjoyed today's episode, please subscribe to our channel and hit the like button. The Riderflex podcast features entrepreneurs, business executives, and the stories behind how they got there, as well as daily tips on career advice and job interviewing. You can visit riderflex.com to learn more about us and get information and pricing on the recruiting and consulting services we provide. Thanks so much for listening and have a great day.